Alright guys, what's going on? Giancarlo here with my Luke mic. And guys, I'm going to show you guys today a trick that I use to when I'm in my partner's side control. So anytime that I pass my partner's guard, okay, especially when you're fighting against somebody that's like a little bit more experienced, it's very common with like inexperienced people when you pass or when you're on top of them, they want to grab you and they want to kind of pull you in. But when somebody is experienced, they know that they want to keep their elbows in close to their body, and they want to frame so that they can push against you. So when I'm in the side control, I pass Mike's guard. Okay, I'm gonna finish here, and he has his hand framing on the one framing on my neck, and the other one framing here on my hips. Okay, sometimes it can be really, really hard to isolate this arm. Okay, so most of the time I don't have to worry too much about this arm, but my goal is that I want to get this arm isolated so that way I can start transitioning to the mount, okay, or start going into my attacks, right? So as I'm here, I always had trouble getting this arm over the years, like getting this arm isolated, and I would try really, really hard, like to pull the elbow, get my knee inside, and it was like almost impossible, okay? And then eventually, you know, I would end up losing the side control, and I see a lot of people struggle with this arm here. Okay, so one of the details that I learned was that in order for me to isolate this arm, I have to raise his elbow away from his body, right? So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start to put my weight on his wrist. Okay, so I'm going to start putting pressure on his wrist with using my hip. As I do this, I'm going to naturally start raising his elbow, like so. And that's going to give me the opportunity to isolate the arm. So once I'm here, I'm on the side, all I'm going to do is the leg that's on top, okay, the leg that's closest to his head, I'm going to start to extend it, and I'm going to start turning my hips in that direction. Notice how, you see how his hips came up for a second? Because I'm putting a lot of pressure on the wrist, okay? So as soon as I do this, it's putting all the pressure on his wrist. Now watch how his elbow comes up. So if you get in close over here, you're gonna see as soon as I start doing that, his elbow's gonna start coming up. So I start putting pressure on the wrist, the elbow starts coming up, and now I quickly switch and I put my knee right underneath his tricep. Okay? Once my knee's between his tricep and the floor, he's not gonna be able to put the elbow down. At this point, I can immediately control the elbow to make sure that I don't lose it anymore, okay? Now, this next transition is really important. As soon as I get to this position, I control the tricep so you can't put it down anymore. I see a lot of people, they do this. They bring this leg back and they replace it with this knee. The problem with this is, if he starts to wiggle his body, he's gonna be able to push his elbow back inside. So I isolated the arm. Okay, I did everything right, and then when I isolated it, I lost it. I had to do everything again. So once I get here, I'm on the side control. He has his arm framing on my hips. I'm going to start sprawling my leg, putting weight on his wrist. I quickly turn, put my knee in underneath his tricep. Control the elbow. It can be here or it can be underneath my armpit, doesn't matter. I control the elbow. I pull it up. Okay, now instead of bringing this knee back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step forward with this leg. Okay, once I take a step forward with this leg here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this knee on the floor as close to the top of his head as possible. Okay, so I want to drop this knee directly on the floor, and now I'm going to bring this other leg close to his body. Okay, once I do this, notice how my knee is right on the top of his head instead of on the top of his shoulder. So what's the difference? It looks the same. It's a very subtle difference. The difference is his elbow is higher than his shoulder line. Okay? When his elbow is higher than his shoulder line, he doesn't have the leverage to put his elbow back on the mat. Right? So he doesn't have the leverage to push me. Go ahead, try to move your arm. So it's impossible for him to bring the arm back. If my knee is close to the shoulder, okay, even though his elbow is above my thigh, if he's going to start wiggling and pushing, because his elbow is in the same line or lower than his shoulder line, it's going to be easy for him to bring the arm back down. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to accomplish with this technique, is I'm going to try to isolate the arm, and I don't want to let him bring the arm back. So anytime that we do any sort of techniques, we want to make sure that we're taking steps forward, not taking steps back. So as I'm here, I'm going to isolate his arm. So he's going to have the arm on the hips. Okay, I can be controlling the head or be over the shoulder, it doesn't matter. As soon as I'm here, just watch my wrist. So I'm going to put my hands on the floor so you can see my hips putting pressure on his wrist. I put pressure on his wrist. His elbow needs to come up just slightly, doesn't need to come up a lot. As soon as his elbow starts to come up, I switch my knee underneath his tricep, pull the arm up, and I step forward with this leg. Okay? So I'm not giving any space in my transitions. I step forward with the leg, touch my knee on the top of his head, bring my other leg in, and finish on the side. If he tries to put the elbow down now, go ahead, push. Really difficult. Alright? And then I finish on the side, okay, isolating the arm.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching the video. If you like my video, please help me grow my channel. Just click subscribe over here. And if you want to see more videos, click any of the videos over here. And guys, if you want to see more in-depth instruction from me, check out my instructional courses at bjjfanatics.com.